Okay, I found one more article that I want to read, and it's about like horrible jobs that people had. So I'm just gonna get right into this video and not ramble so much. So the first awful job, hotel housekeeping. If it comes out of the human body, I've cleaned it up. Stupid fucking piece of shit phone. Sorry. I started it by the Hour Motel when I was 14, owned by a woman who didn't bother with the hazardous waste procedure and cleaned up what looked like a murder scene with nothing but bleach and kitchen gloves. Owner refused to let me report it, made me clean it, and I didn't want to get in shit for bleaching a murder scene at 14, so I never did call the cops. That is a bad job, honestly. Like, that's scary. Number 2. I think there's 27 of these, so this is probably going to be a long video. I've had shit jobs, but nothing compares to this guy that called into a radio contest for worst job titles, as his was chicken butthole remover. He stood on the slaughter line and made sure the carcasses were butthole free. If they weren't, he was to fix it. I'm sorry, I don't mean to laugh, but that's kind of funny. Horrible job, but funny. Number 3. I was a waiter at a kids' restaurant which had a bear as its mascot. The new guy had to be the bear on their first day, which meant putting on a massive bear costume over our waiter's uniform, including a huge fur head that you could barely see out of. You were then led around the place to wave at the parents and play with the kids once per hour. If you spoke, you were fired, as some of these kids were return customers who would recognize a waiter's voice. Yeah, I don't know what to say about that one. I think that one's better than a chicken butthole remover. Cutting fancy glass for use in mosaics. There is no training. Glass dust is a thing. My fingertips were swollen with tiny shards of glass, and I broke much more glass than I was worth. It was a short gig. That sounds like a horrible job, honestly. Oh no, it's raining. There's thunder out there if you can hear it now. If you can hear that noise, that's thunder. Okay, so this is number 5. Probably working for a moving company. Everybody dreads moving day. For me, that was every day. And they have like a little meme that's like Pivot with Ross and, from Friends. That's a horrible job, I would say. 6. I sprinkled mud onto potatoes that had already been washed so that they would look freshly dug when they hit the supermarket. Most depressing holiday job I've ever had. I'm sorry, I don't mean to laugh. That is so funny. I don't know why. 7. Picking mangoes in Australia. Many people are unaware that if you snap off the stalk on a mango, poisonous sap flies out, which makes you blister quite dramatically. Also the best job because of the beautiful scenery. At least they had a bright side to that story. That's really weird. 8. I worked at a slaughterhouse for a little while. They got pork shipped in. The hams came in a gigantic cardboard vat. Once we fished out most of the hams and trimmed them, there was always a couple feet of blood at the bottom. As a new guy, it was my job to dangle over the edge with a meat hook in one hand, fishing for the remaining hams and scraps. Sorry. I wouldn't want to work at a slaughterhouse, let me just say that. 9. Door-to-door solar panel salesman for a corrupt home energy company. Nothing better than knocking on someone's front door right in the middle of a Patriots game. Yeah, I wouldn't want that job either. That's a terrible job. 10. Internship at a public relations firm in college. Was promised agency experience, writing opportunities, and valuable experience. Turns out what they actually meant was sitting in a room for 8 hours, cold calling CIOs from an outdated call list and trying to trick them into a sales representation. Yeah, that's horrible. I'm so sorry you had to go through that. That sounds like a boring job. 11. I was a furnace helper in steel factory. We made bumper mounts and the hinges for trucks, hoods, and other heavy steel parts. I unfolded red-hot parts from the furnace with a pair of tongs. I used to catch fire 2 or 3 times a day. I hated that. I'm so sorry. That sounds like a dangerous job, and it sounds like a horrible job. It sounds boring. 12. I'm a dealer at a smaller casino, and it is the most soul-sucking job I've ever done. You see the worst in everyone, because let's be honest, no one is ever a winner in the long run gambling, and our pit bosses walk the other way or act like they didn't hear the guy screaming and calling the woman dealer a whore or a C word, which you should never call a woman a C word, but I kind of understand that. But it's not her fault. It's the people that runs the place fault, not hers. 13. I collected semen from chickens for artificial insemination. You have to, blink them off. Not my job. Walk into the room and the effers immediately began to, that word. We had to rush them and get the collection vial in place quickly, or the day's worth of semen was lost. So much semen on my gloves. Ugh. That sounds disgusting. Really fucking disgusting. 14. Roofing is the freaking worst. It's pretty much like being a human egg on a griddle all day with the side order of humping shingles around and trying not to fall and break your neck. Yeah, I wouldn't want that job either. That's a scary job. 15. I was a cashier flicker at a candy factory. Literally, I flicked the bad cashews off a conveyor belt. That actually kind of sounds fun. Like, that's not that bad of a job. 16. I managed a local restaurant, worked 10 to 12 hour days, often with closing and leaving at 1 a.m., only to be back to open at 6 a.m., 6 days a week with an 8 a.m. meeting on my only one full day off. That doesn't sound right. Like, that's probably, like, against the law. So I'm so sorry about that. Like, this sucks. 17. Pyramid scheme selling Kirby vacuums for in-house demonstrations. Got out of that within a couple weeks. Yeah, I wouldn't want to do that job either. That's terrible. 18. Lifeguard, it was hours upon hours of boredom intermingled with seconds of sheer terror. Well, I would rather be bored at this job than having someone die on the job, you know what I mean? 19. I took a job with a marketing company working at the mall, trying to get people to take surveys. Literally hundreds of people walked right by, refusing to make eye contact with me. It was like being a ghost. Horrible job. Hated every second of it. I quit after 6 hours. I would too, honestly. Not gonna lie. 20. Working at a music store, rather instruments all day. There is at least one guy who is playing his first concert for everyone in the store. He has the most expensive guitar hooked up to the lattice amp while he sausage fingers through the intro to Sweet Child of Mine. That sounds kind of funny though. It sounds kind of fun though, a little bit. 2-1. Student teaching. Put me right out of the business. I see why so many new teachers break so quickly. Parents, kids, endless paperwork, worthless administration, and never any respite. I guess they mean respect. Yeah, I couldn't be a teacher. I would yell at people, honestly. Like, I'd lose my patience. I would probably kill somebody, honestly. 22. After high school, I took a stint as a crewman on a traveling boat in the Gulf of Mexico. The nets dropped thousands of pounds of fish, crabs, shark, etc. Every few hours, it was a shrimp boat. Keep the shrimp, throw the rest back out to sea, but they're mostly dead by then. Keep all the king prawns, prop their heads off immediately with your thumbs while they squirm to death. Never get used to it. That is so fucked up. It's so sad. So sad. 23. I was a fat man in a ham processing plant. My job was to take the fat that the deboners and trimmers had cut off the pig hindquarters. I took the buckets to the front of the room and emptied them into the boxes, which I then weighed and sealed up. When I was needed again, the supervisor would yell, "Fat man," and I would do it over again. I was a little overrated at the time. Oh, I'm so sorry. That's fucking horrible. Because you don't know if they're actually talking about you or not. 24. Worked for a major city's parking management division as a lot security guard. People would come to the lot and yell at me for towing their car only because I was the first person they would encounter when they were coming to retrieve it. It sucked, to say the least. I bet so. People are just terrible. 25. Bartender for TGI Fridays. Literally the movie Waiting. That's kind of funny. I'm sorry. The way you put it. Oh, and next is 26. It help desk for Apple. No need to explain that one. I understand. And number 27. Car salesman. I didn't like lying to people about important things like crash safety. Good for you. You have morals. those were the 27 worst jobs that people had, and I can't believe that I managed to make it like shorter this time than like my last video filming. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you want like more videos like this, like 27 worst jobs people ever had, let me know. Anyway, I'm gonna go. Bye guys.